Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Probably Private. I'm Catherine Jarmal, and today we're going to talk about how do you actually start to get data so that you can start to do your own local AI, private AI, and these types of things. So normally in the data science process or any type of AI or machine learning process, you might first get the data and then see, is there anything here that is interesting or useful? But another thing could be that you already decided this is the project I want to build, or this is something that I want to build and run locally. And then really decide, okay, I'm going to go after this data because I think it will help me build this, right? Either way, we always start with data, right? So we can download models, we can use open data sets, but most useful is getting specific data for the type of thing that you want to do. And nobody's an expert more on what you like to do than yourself and your own data. So I'm going to give you some tips, places to look for if you're first searching for data and thinking about how do I get started. Number one, your mobile phone. So regardless what operating system you use, Android or iOS, or if you use some other operating system, there's going to be ways for you to extract all of the data from your phone, iCloud, or, if you use Google services. And each of those have ways to kind of both do a one-time, but also to try to take a look and do an overtime export of your data. And what I recommend is that you get some local computer that you have on your home network, which I'll talk about more in a later video, and you eventually start moving all the files over there. Now, if you want to use the automated backups provided by your mobile phone, that's fine. Keep using those, but maybe schedule either a reminder for yourself or some sort of automation that can go and pull the backups regularly to your local storage. And this means that as you're building locally, you always will have an update of your latest data. And I'll also share some alternatives if you don't want to use Google or Apple automated backups. I'll share some alternatives also in a later video for you to get started, including things like Nextcloud is quite popular for this. So speaking of Nextcloud or other types of document services, you may use Google Drive, you may use Notion, or whatever note-taking services you use. There's usually a way to also export all of your notes. So whatever notes you use, I recommend just stop right now, go find where your notes are and figure out where are you able to download that, and are you able to download that regularly and keep it updated. And this is going to mean anything that you want to build, like a RAG system or any question and answer, even just starting to think through, do I want to have an offline way to search through my notes? Like, this is all really nice ways to do that for yourself. And how do you want to maybe build in an LLM into that workflow or other types of machine learning models into those workflows is maybe an interesting and kind of easy place to start, right? Because you're already working with text data, you're already working with whatever you write notes on, whatever it is, and then integrating that into an app idea for yourself or some sort of process idea for yourself is quite easy place to start. If you have PDFs, if you have presentations, you can also work with those. So you can export things like your PowerPoints or keynotes or whatever presentations you use. And if you want to build a workflow that's like, hey, what was that slide that I presented on this, right? You can start to break that down into smaller steps that you can use. Google Takeout is a great place. If you have a Google account and you've ever used it, Google has a takeout service and you can look through, there's a lot of data that you can export. So that might be also a place, even if you don't use Google services a lot, that might be also a place for you to get idea of what you might want to use, like restaurant recommendations, photo recommendations, other things like this. If you're a big iCloud Apple user, you can go to your iCloud and maybe also just scroll through your data and get ideas on something that you can build just as your first small project that might be interesting for you. And if you can't find an export, what I recommend doing is reach out to the privacy contact email address at the company whose data you're looking for. So obviously the big places have a lot of this automated, but smaller services might not yet have an automated way for you to download and back up your data. And so if you can't find an automated way, either by searching and finding or by looking around on the site and finding, then first step is to write the privacy contact, because even if you're not an EU resident, most of these companies operate at some point in time in the EU. And under GDPR, we have the right to data access and data portability, they're called. And this means that you should be able to know what data is collected about you and how and under what legal paradigm, right? And then you should usually have the right to then export that data in what they call a machine-readable format, which for us is often going to be something like JSON or XML. And we'll get more into how do you parse these with Python, how do you work with them in later videos. And then number one tip for data from a now long practicing data scientist is to actually start building out your own data sets based off of your own information. So if you haven't already checked it out, I have a video on Prevedly and also building out my own machine learning recommender algorithm. And that's basically what I use, for example, for my RSS feed reader, and then also how I curate that feed with my own recommendation algorithm, which first means I collect data about what I like, and then maybe also what I don't like. And with that, I can build a very simple algorithm that helps me decide, and also is kind of fun to see what I actually like and if that changes over time. So even if you're just getting started, picking a project, then starting to think about what data do I want to collect, right? And maybe generate. So you can also use synthetic prompting to generate some if you're starting from absolutely zero and you want to jump start into the workflow. But the best way to build any type of machine learning or AI system, especially on a personal level and on a local level, is going to be starting to actually build the workflow and then starting to collect and use your own data as you work with it to improve the system. So I hope that gives you a good way to get started. Go have a look now. What data do you already have? What might be interesting? What might be useful? Go have a look at the services that you use. See if you can download some of your data. Perhaps something popped into your mind, like a fitness tracker or really anything that you use to collect data and you use it today via a third-party service. That's data that's probably available to you that you can then use locally for your own purposes. And you can also synthesize data from many sources. So you could pull from multiple sources and see if you can link them up and use them together. And then finally, hopefully you have some ideas on how to start generating data by using it or by thinking about it. And there'll be more on that coming soon also as we talk about evaluations and how do we actually evaluate whether a prompt and an LLM model that we have are working well together for the use case that we're looking at. And there's going to be a video coming up on that. So let me know, what data are you using? Do you already have some local AI projects running? And if so, how did you get the data? Any tips for others collecting data, please share in the comments. And then I'd be curious, if you have a hard time finding the data, if reaching out to the privacy contact helps, or if you find other methods for doing that. So let me know how your data scavenging goes, and I'll see you next week where we're going to talk about how do we actually build this into an evaluation criteria that you can use.